G'day guys, my name's Chris, aka I Ride Taz. Today's video, we are bucking the trend of YouTube. On every YouTube video I've seen, people make the gearing on these pit bikes taller by going up 2 teeth to a 17 to give them more top end. I don't need this bike to do 100k an hour. I probably only really need it to do half that, because in the time I've had it, that's about the fastest I've ever had it up to in the sort of trails I ride. So what I plan on doing is going to a 13 tooth front sprocket to give me a lot more torque, give me more rideability in hilly terrain and better crawling over sort of objects, a slower sort of idle speed to make it more more capable of negotiating bigger terrain and things like that. The other thing I plan on doing is switching from 420 pitch chain to a 428 pitch chain. The 420 pitch chain is real dinky and toy-like in my opinion, and it might be great if you're racing this bike because it's lighter and gives you less rotational mass and things like that. But my gut feeling is that it's just not quite up to the type of riding I want to do. So I've bought myself a 428 pitch chain and I'm going to install that and ultimately just relieve my sort of stress on the idea that that chain's going to break when I'm out in the bush. So let's get down to it. Let's get the front sprocket off and then we will put the front sprocket on, and then we'll need to get the back wheel off so that we can put the 428 pitch rear sprocket on. And I've just bought myself a stock 41 tooth to work with. It should go together relatively easy. I'm going to use an 8mm socket to take this cover off to access the front sprocket. Just going to undo that bolt, and that bolt using that 8mm ratchet. Using a 10mm, we're gonna put it in gear. And remove these bolts. Take that plate off. And take the sprocket off. Got our 13 tooth sprocket. Got some thread lock. Thread lock. This is Duramax. It's high strength. Even though it's red, it's not permanent. I don't know the torque specs for that. Generally, I find tight plus a quarter is perfect for a lot of these applications. Okay, so the chain is of a different pitch, so we're going to have to cut this chain to be able to install the 428. Okay, so protective eyewear and a cutting disc. We'll get this chain out the way, but before we do, there's the 420 and there's the 428. So it's quite a before we get this chain out of the way, there's the 420, there's the 428. So it's quite a significant increase. Don't try and run the 428 pitch on a 420 sprocket. You need to replace the sprockets and the chain, but that's a good move anyway. Anytime you change a chain, it's best to change your sprockets so they wear into each other evenly. But this is a much sturdier chain. I'm going to be much more confident with this off-road. Just going to use a 19mm and a 17mm. So we've got axle plate spacer, and it just means we can lift our rim wheel out. So we're using a 5mm Allen key. So we have undone the bolts and we'll get the sprocket off. Here's our new 428 fits, and I have got some better fasteners. Some of the problem with this bike is the quality of fasteners. So guys, do yourself a favor, every time you replace something, just get better quality bolts. These were 8mm, 1.25 pitch, and we will just thread them in. Oh, no, we will put some thread locker on. So of any part of the bike, I have found these bolts back out most commonly. They will back out and then they will knock the chain off because they will hit the swing arm, and you really don't want that. So we'll put some thread lock on here. M8, 20mm long. It's got a 13mm socket. Go acrosswise just to put even tension on. Okay, there is our 428 41 to sprocket conversion on the back. Let's get the wheel back on. So I've just moved the front wheel forward as far as it will go. So just went to the bike shop and I got myself a 428 136 link sort of budget chain. It was $55. I got a spare master link. Where did I put it? I got a spare master link as well. Ultimately, I wasn't happy with the quality of the $20 chain from eBay, so I just sort of stepped up one notch to a slightly better version. So yeah, this is heaps better quality. 136 links. It's going to have to be cut down, but that's cool. We will feed it in and we'll get it on and we'll get the bike back on the trail. We've cut that off. So here's our master link or clip link. And that's the direction of travel, so we want it to face that way so it's less likely to get knocked off by sticks and debris. Click that. Now all we have to do is put the cover back on and adjust these to push the axle back that way to tighten the chain. 17, 19. We'll just loosen it. So that I can pull it by hand. And we'll start by just winding this out, because we want this gap even with that gap, which is about there. Yep. So that's about 2 centimeters there. So we'll just tighten these down to stop the axle from moving. And just tighten up the axle. Just going to use some Penrite chain lube. So that's installed, lubed, sounds really good. Just the final thing I like to do on an off-road bike is put a spare master link on the keychain, just so if anything goes wrong, you've got one out on the trail for the chain that you've bought. And that's installed. Guys, that went pretty smoothly. Really happy with how that looks. The 428 chain just looks so much more robust than the 420 chain. Like, ever since I bought this bike, particularly when I decided to do the big wheel conversion, I wanted to upgrade the chain to a 428 pitch, which will just give it a little bit more durability for the trails. Yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out. I'm really excited to try the 13-tooth front, which I think will give me a lot more torque to get up the hills. Yes, it will be at the expense of the top end, but again, I don't want or need this bike to do 100k an hour. I'm thinking anything around 60 kilometers an hour would be absolutely fine for the style of riding that I plan on doing. I really want the ability to crawl and go up quite steep hills compared to stock, or what most people do of putting the 17-tooth front on. So that's it for this video, guys. I'm excited to test it out. So obviously the next video is going to be a field trial of the change in gearing and the heavy duty chain. But guys, that'll be next Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Hope you can join me. The videos are always at that time. Like, comment, subscribe, share it around. Super thanks. Yeah, if you want to support the channel. So guys, yeah, I will see you next time.